both of you all, since I've been talking to you, have reeled off stuff that's happened many, many years ago now, but you can tell me exact dates, and you're even giving me exact times now. Does that stuff just never go away?
We took off at 2:30 in the morning, completely blackout takeoff. And one of our pilots crashed into the tower on takeoff because we had no lights whatsoever. And so you remember things like that.
Soldiers who come home rarely forget the traumatizing experiences they have had. War takes its toll on individuals, and its impact often extends deep into the lives of returned soldiers and their families in the form of PTSD. Carlos C. Huerta, an Iraq War veteran, reported a PTSD attack he unexpectedly experienced in September of 2010, years after he had left the battlefield. Maybe it was the young soldier, a mother of two who was just redeployed, who I watched cut down after she hanged herself weeks after returning from battle earlier. Maybe it was the faces of the children I see on all the doors I knocked on to tell them their father or mother was not coming home. Maybe it was because it was the same time of year when my uniform was covered with the blood and brains of a 6-year-old Iraqi child who was caught in an IED during Ramadan. I don't know what the trigger was, but it hit me hard. I went home one evening, and all of a sudden I felt a tightness in my chest. It was hard to breathe. I felt closed in and panicky. I bolted out of bed thinking I was dying. I paced the room in the dark for hours before I exhausted myself. I almost went to the ER that night, but the soldier in me said to stick it out. The morning came and it hit again. A panic, a fear of being closed off, claustrophobia and pains in the chest. I thought maybe I was having a heart attack, and if I was, I needed to see a doctor. Even though I was home, I never left the battlefield. I brought the war home, and it took a toll on me, my family, wife, and children. The home I came back to was not the one I left. My family was not the same. I was not the same. I felt that something important was stolen from me, and there was nobody I could talk to about it. Nobody except the guys I was over there with. I would look for combat patches, look for buddies to talk to, look for the soldiers who went through what I went through, and felt the same way I did.
How can you live the life where everyone's afraid of you? You know, you go to town and people says, that's the crazy vet, don't mess with him.
My wife told me, something's got to change or we got to leave.
When you try to talk to somebody that hasn't been there, hasn't experienced it, they don't understand. And so you just kind of get laughed at.
According to the VA report, about 1 in 5 soldiers develop PTSD. With over 2 million troops deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan since 9/11, this equates to 400,000 veterans with PTSD in the last 2 decades alone. Additionally, around 43% of deployed servicemen have children, which means around 172,000 soldiers have developed PTSD with children at home. Around 8% of all servicemen are single parents, so around 32,000 soldiers have developed PTSD with no help raising and financially supporting their children. As seen in the case of Carlos Huerta, this PTSD can limit the functionality of individuals as well as splinter families. Symptoms might range from irritability to vivid flashbacks and panic attacks that terrify the individuals and place tremendous stress on those around them. Marcus Luttrell, author of Lone Survivor and retired Navy SEAL, recounts a terrifying experience that haunts him to this day.
He was had pushed out onto this this boulder out in the middle of the draw, and this wide open, no cover, no nothing. He was on our satellite phone.
Luttrell saw his lieutenant make the call, a call Mike Murphy knew would likely cost him his life.
He took 2 rounds to the chest because he spun like a top, and it dropped him. And I tried to I make my way up to him. You know, he's my best friend, and I'd already lost Danny. And I knew that Axe was dying. I didn't want to lose him. And then he started to crawl left. And I was out in the open, waving my hands. I was like, just come down to me. That's all I wanted him to do, was just come down to me. And I heard his gun go off and a lot of gunfire in his area. I was trying with everything I had to get to him. And he started screaming my name. He was like, Marcus, man, you got to help me. I need help, Marcus. That it got so intense that I actually put my weapon down and covered my ears because I couldn't stand to hear him die. All I wanted him to do was stop screaming my name. and they killed him.
Not everyone is as fortunate as Marcus Luttrell. Many never recover from the traumatizing experiences that they went through, and their entire lives spiral out of control.
Depression, anxiety, anger, worthlessness, guilt.
Guilt?
Survivors, guilt. Why me? Why am I alive? Why are they not? That's one of the hardest thoughts to deal with,
Eric Collins was wounded in a rocket attack in Afghanistan. Over a year, 17 of his buddies died.
How did you cope with these feelings of anger and depression and guilt when you first got out?
Alcohol, and lots of it. That's where it started off. And alcohol led to my depression worsening, which led to more substance abuse, crack. Cocaine is my drug of choice. So my whole life spiraled downward out of control.
In order to eliminate PTSD, you must eliminate war, which is a nearly impossible feat. However, there are many treatment options to help reduce the effects of PTSD. From service dogs that help calm and relax veterans, to breathing exercises, Tai Chi, and meditation that provide greater control over emotions and the human mind, to therapy methods similar to rehab that provide a safe place to recover from PTSD, there are options out there. There are opportunities for these victims to get the help they need and begin the road to recovery.
I see that I do have, that opportunity to pick myself up at 63 years old and start all over again.
Tell me about prolonged exposure therapy.
Sure. They've done everything they can to push these memories away. In the process, they haven't gained a full realization of the impact and the meaning that these stories have on their lives. I like to use the term, we're staring the dragon in the eye.
Where did these therapies come from?
A lot of these therapies came about with survivors of physical or sexual abuse, those types of traumas.
What are the similarities?
The symptoms. The avoidance, the isolation, the hypervigilance, the extreme anxiety, irritability, inability to sleep, nightmares. Same thing. Different sources, but same thing.
Not everyone has access to therapy facilities, but if we each extend a hand, we can make a difference. By offering our love and support to our veterans around us, we can help to limit the effects of PTSD. Carlos Huerta felt like he had no one to talk to, and as a result, he kept his internal battles to himself, endangering his own health and the safety of those around him. While many of us may not understand the experiences that haunt their pasts, or the struggles that dictate their present, we can provide our support to help them find a better, more peaceful future. With over 2 million soldiers deployed in the last 2 decades, most of us know someone who has been affected by war. Talk to them, listen to their experiences, and if they suffer from PTSD, lend a supporting hand and a listening ear, and be a friend. We may not be able to stop war, but together we can stop war's tyranny over veterans through our diligent compassion and care.